The House will come to order. The pledge will be led today by Jada Martin, East High School, Denver, Colorado.
Please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Kohler, please call the roll.
Representatives Arndt, Becker J, Becker K, Brown, Buck, Representative Buck, Buckner, Representative Buckner, got tickle.
Okay, 1 second. I'm going to transfer you to the ladies. One microphone.
Say the big one.
Long legs.
Buckner present. Carver, Conti, Corum, Court, Danielson, Del Grosso, Dorr, Duran, Esgar, Everett, Fields, Foote, Garnett, Janal, Hamner, Humphrey, Joshi, Kagan, Klingenschmidt, Kraft Tharp, Landgraf, Lawrence, Representative Lawrence,
Take me with you? No.
Sure. I think you could fit in the suitcase.
You'd be surprised. He roll up real nice. He's gonna I can do that too. Shiny shoes.
Are we just observing like conference?
Yes.
Well, I only have some.
Yes. Representative Lawrence excused.
Lawrence excused. Lebsock, Lee, Leonard, Lontine, Lundeen, McCann, Melton, Mitch Bush. I gotcha. Moreno. Representative Moreno. Representative, okay. Navarro. Neville. Nordberg. Pabon. Pedersen. Primavera. Priola. Rankin. Ransom. Rosenthal. Rupe. Ryden. Representative Ryden. Sane. Salazar. Sias. Singer. Thurlow. Tyler. Yes. Van Winkle. Behill. Willett. Williams. Wilson. Windholes. Winter. Wist. Young. Madam Speaker.
Is that still? With 64 present, 1 excused, we have a quorum. Representative Danielson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the reading of the Journal of Tuesday, February 2nd be dispensed with and that it be approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk.
You have heard the motion that the journal be adopted as corrected by the chief clerk. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Announcements and introductions. And members, may I have your attention, please? Please give your attention to those speaking at the podium. Who's first? Representative Landgraf? No. Do we have no announcements and introductions this morning? Well, all right. Representative Wilson and then Representative Rupe, and keep going.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I was not paying close attention there. This morning, Christy and I transported 200 hot dogs, buns, potato chips, and water bottles to the Capitol tomorrow, high noon, room 112, Sportsman's Caucus.
Representative Landgraf and Representative Rupe. And Representative Lee, do you all want to stand up there at once?
Sure.
Yes. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Okay, listen, because you're never going to hear this again, ever. You're in the Army now. You're not behind a plow. You're digging a ditch. You'll never get rich. You're in the Army now. Monday is Veterans Caucus. We are talking about employment.
Employment and employment opportunities. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
And
Right ahead,
last
Representative.
Veterans Caucus, we had over 33 legislators, and we had most of those from the House. So this time, the Senate is really hitting it hard. We don't want to be outshone by the Senate, do we? So get your reservations in. It's Monday, noon, in room 112. Lunch is provided. Please contact Jerry to let him know that you're coming.
Wheeler.
Oops.
Representative Lee.
Thank you. And just to support my colleagues in support of the Veteran Caucus, we have a number of veteran bills that are going to be coming down the pike, and they've got a number of provisions dealing with veteran employment, veteran obtaining licenses and things of that sort. So the more we know about occupational issues pertaining to veterans, the better we will be able to deal with these bills. So come, lunch, and learn. Thanks.
So, members, this is a great opportunity. Please RSVP Jerry Wheeler. He's got the email on the flyer. And we're not doing so well on the RSVP so far. We've got great lunches. We've got to know how many folks are going to be there, so we make sure you have your lunch covered. And this is a great topic. We have a number of different speakers on different things that I think are important to all of us. And as we've said, we all, if we're not veterans, represent veterans in our districts. Thank you all.
Representative Priola and Representative Pedersen.
Morning, members. Today is AVID Day at the Capitol. AVID is a college readiness system that provides proven real-world strategies for accelerate the performance of underrepresented students so that these students and all students across the entire campus succeed in college, career, and life. Today, AVID impacts over 1 million students in 44 states and 16 other countries. In 2005 alone, AVID trained over 30,000 teachers in their students' institutes and 20,000 teachers in other professional learning venues.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In Colorado, AVID is active in 99 schools in 21 school districts and has helped over 11,000 students. This is a very important program for me because AVID really helps some of the most at-risk kids who are usually the first in their family to graduate. To go to college, 80% of the students are free and reduced lunch. And I was the first in my family to graduate from high school and college. So thank you for the work that you do for students in Colorado, and thank you for being here. Members, please help me in welcoming the AVID students that are with us today. You can wave your hands so we know who you are.
Representative Rosenthal.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I would also like to welcome those AVID students who are here. And as some of you know, I'm a teacher, and I work in a youth correctional facility, and a number of our students just don't feel like they have a future, and they don't think that they can thrive and that they can succeed in life. And this program, AVID, really focuses them and says, look, you too can go to college, you too can be successful. And I'm just so in awe and amazed at these students and how they just really flourish with this kind of program. So I really commend you. Thank you so much for being here, and good luck to you all.
Further announcements and introductions. Mr. Speaker Pro Tem Dan Pabon, Representative Garnett, and Representative Landgraf. Please proceed, Representative Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And members, you can still see the salmon-colored bins up here. We are still collecting non-perishable items for United in Orange food drive. That is the competition between North Carolina and the state of Colorado. We had a great participation yesterday. I would have to say that yesterday we lost to the Senate in the number of items collected, but looking in the bins this morning, it looks to me like we're going to take the lead. But we're going to be collecting non-perishable items throughout the week, so if you haven't brought them in yet, please do either this afternoon, tomorrow, or Friday, because they will be collecting items all the way up till Sunday at midnight.
Representative Landgraf.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I know that a lot of you, especially on our side, don't go home at night. You have apartments up here, and you may not have canned goods or non-perishables sitting in your apartment. But right down the road on Washington and Colfax, well, Colfax to Washington, anyway, there's a Safeway. So you can go in there, there's parking, you can buy some stuff and bring it in. If you don't want to do that, we'll be happy to take a donation, and I will go to the store and buy food. So there's no reason to not participate. This is important, and you can't possibly let us lose to North Carolina? North Carolina.
Mr. Speaker Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And members, just to generate more enthusiasm for this food drive, we have some very special guests visiting us here today. So I'd like to draw your attention to the speaker's podium while I introduce some of our very special guests who are here not only to support the Denver Broncos, but United in Orange. First, we have Nikki Bronson, a Broncos cheerleader, Haley Johnson, a Broncos cheerleader, here to cheer us on. And behind them, who will stand up next, are four very important members of the Denver Broncos team. I'm going to start with Billy Thompson, who is a defensive back. Yes. You may recognize Billy both in person and in his name. He's been in 3 Pro Bowls and is part of the Broncos Ring of Fame. We have Lilo Lang, who is a He was a defensive back for the Broncos from 1990 to 1994, and he's the president of the Broncos Alumni Association. What a fun group to be president of. Next, we have Larry Bronson. Larry Bronson was a wide receiver and a kick returner in 1980. And finally, we have Ron Egloff. Ron was a tight end with the Denver Broncos from 1977 to 1984, and he was on the very first Super Bowl Broncos team. So I'm sure here shortly you'll have an opportunity to meet these folks, take pictures, as I'm sure many of you do. But remember, United in Orange. If you wear orange or blue or any colors, you bring a perishable item, and we are going to beat Carolina both in the food drive and in the Super Bowl.
I think it would be a terrible waste if we had the Bronco cheerleaders here and they didn't lead a cheer. So I'm going to give them the podium to lead a cheer for us.
Thank you for having us here today.
We're going to have you guys help send us off to Super Bowl 50.
Go Broncos on 3. 1, 2, 3. Go Broncos!
Thank you.
So now, seeing no objections, I'm going to call just a brief recess, and let's try to make it brief, folks, so that we can get a group picture, because I know Representative Wilson was really excited about getting that done. And we'll try to, as many of you that have orange or blue on, you can crowd up here, and we'll have these very tall folks stand behind us, I hope, and we'll get a picture. So let's see if we can make this work. I think I'll wait a minute. It's because Marilyn's got. The House will come back to order. During that very nice interlude, did anybody think of additional announcements and introductions they want to do? Seeing none, we're going to move forward to do general orders, second reading of bills. Representative Kagan.
Madam Speaker, I move that the House resolve the consideration of the whole consideration of general orders.
You have heard the motion. If there are no objections, Representative Kagan will take the chair. So ordered.
The committee will come to order. With your unanimous consent, the bills will be read by title, unless there is a request for a reading of bill at length. Committee amendments will not be read unless requested, as they are printed in your bill folders. Floor amendments will be shown on the screen and on your iPads and not read unless requested. Bills will be laid over upon motion of the Majority Leader, and the Coat rule is relaxed. Mr. Kohler, please read the title of House Bill 1002.
House Bill 1002 by Representative Buckner, also Senator Kerr, concerning parental involvement in a child's academic activities.
Representative Buckner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move House Bill 1002 and the Education Committee report.
To the Education Committee report, Representative Buckner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Education Committee amended the bill to bring the provisions in line with the 2009 Parental Leave Bill. I urge a yes vote.
Is there any further discussion on the Education Committee report? Seeing none, those in favor of the Education Committee report being adopted say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Education Committee report is adopted. Representative Peterson? Oh, it's Representative Buckner. To the bill.
To the bill. Mr. Chairman, fellow legislators, by passing this bill, we will create a foundation for all parents to be able to be involved in their child's education while providing flexibility for employers and their employees to determine what works best for them. It is common knowledge that parental involvement increases academic success. I know the children of Colorado deserve every opportunity to succeed. I want to thank the parents, students, teachers, and the business community for working with us on this very important bill. I urge your support for House Bill 1002.
Representative Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move L010 and ask that it be displayed.
L010 has been properly displayed. Representative Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is simply just to narrow the titles so we can more appropriately discuss this bill and its intent. And I ask for your support.
Representative Priola.
Mr. Chair, I move substitute amendment L007 and ask that it be displayed. Members, this amendment...
Representative Priola, just let me take a look at this. Representative... Okay. Representative Priola, this substitute amendment to be in order has to be germane to the amendment that it seeks to substitute for. This amendment is not germane to the amendment, the underlying amendment. Therefore, the amendment is out of order. So ruled. Representative Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Once again, this is just narrowing the discussion to the intent of the bill, and I ask for your aye vote.
Is there any further discussion of Amendment L010? Seeing none, those in favor of Amendment L010 say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Amendment L010 is passed. Representative Buckner.
Back to the bill. The amended title better reflects the meaning of the bill, and I urge an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion of House Bill 1002? Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, I wanted to comment because I think it's appropriate that you all understand what my position was in the Education Committee. The original intent of this law back in 2009 was to change behavior, of employers who would not allow employees to be able to have their employees go to school activities. From the testimony that we heard, the bill was successful. It did sunset, and we did not see a lot of testimony that it was not working and that there had been a whole lot of movement back towards what we had before because the HR policies had been changed. The biggest issue that I had with this bill, and still have with this bill, as an educator, implementation, if this bill goes through, implementation from the standpoint of an educator is no big deal. All we do is say, you've got the right to come to visit your child's activities. Bless you, my child, come. The impact is on business because business is involved in this. Business was consulted, but we didn't hear testimony from business. Business is the one who has to allow employees up to 18 hours leave, which if you look at the statistics on what was done, some businesses actually allowed 26 hours of leave. So this would actually be more restrictive on them than what they were actually able to do through their own agreement between their employees and employer. My issue is if it affects business, it should be heard by business. Hasn't been heard by business, was not referred to business, and therefore, because business is the key player in this, I'll be a no vote because it should go through the business cycle. Thank you.
Representative Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I stand in support of House Bill 1002. Many employers actually do offer more generous leave policies to their employees, which is why this bill specifically states that this law does not apply to employers who are more generous with their parental leave than this law requires. So we don't need to be concerned about employers being more generous because this law accounts for that. And we very much appreciate those employers that are generous with their leave to allow their employees to be involved in their kids' education. You know, one other thing that I just want to say, yes, it's true. The business community didn't testify in the Education Committee, but that's a credit to the hard work that Representative Buckner did to work with the business community to make this law as workable for them as possible, which is why they did not come and testify. And I commend the work, the hard work that Representative Buckner did on that issue. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Williams, and then Representative Lundin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And members, I want to let you know that I appreciate the business community in their efforts to work with Representative Buckner and Representative Pedersen on this piece of legislation to ensure there were no negative ramifications to the business community. And the business community is not opposed to this bill. And again, I want to thank both sides, including our legislators, to reach out to the business community and work with them on this very important piece of legislation.
Representative Lundin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me speak to this and speak directly to some of the comments that Representative Moreno brought. It's this idea of businesses that are more generous are not affected. They can continue to be more generous. But I think there's a subtlety to this, a nuance to this that we are not catching and we should be attentive to. What happens with the course of this piece of legislation is we interrupt the positive interactions between employee and employer. And let me speak to this as an entrepreneur of almost 30 years, more than half a dozen companies over, close to 3 decades. In my experience, we built great teams and great businesses by interacting positively with our team members. We knew them not as a set of numbers, 16 hours or 26 hours or whatever, but as individuals. And it made us stronger as a company. It made them stronger as individuals as we connected with them and as we dealt with the specifics of their circumstance, which might far exceed a 16-hour need. But what begins to happen when we intervene and interrupt that societal conversation by forcing legislation is we turn this into a he said, she said, a this against that, one side looking at compliance and what I have to do to comply, and another side looking at entitlements and what am I entitled to. And it interrupts that critically important interaction that we should have person to person in relationship, which creates a stronger and better society. So I rise in opposition to this on a fairly nuanced point, but I think a valid point nonetheless. We should not interrupt the positive interaction and relationship between individuals in society, because that's how we build a strong society. And that's exactly what this bill does. It interrupts that conversation and changes its tone from one of what do you need and how can I help you and how can I be a part of your life, into one of what must I do because the government says and what am I entitled to because the government says. I oppose this bill for that reason.
Representative Lee. Representative Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, the evidence we heard on Monday is conclusive and uncontroverted. Parental involvement is a critical element in lower dropout rates and increased student achievement. Those are the two overarching goals of the K-12 educational system. The Bell Policy Center came in and testified 9-5. The American Federation of Teachers and the PTA all made that statement that parental involvement is critical. It is an article of faith in the educational community. Supporting parents improve outcomes for children and increases post-secondary participation. This bill promotes both of those goals. It is unopposed by the business community, which recognizes the importance of educating and graduating our children. It provides for a flexible system to allow parental participation without disrupting business operations. Casey, representing the business community, was consulted and spoken with about this bill, and they are studiously neutral. We commend the business community for their participation in the development of this bill. To the argument that there is no problem, so why fix it? There was testimony from Nicole Rodriguez that she had been denied the opportunity to attend conferences with her son Nicholas, and Nicholas testified to the same effect. Employees of large companies stated that their employers did not know that this right existed before its sunset. And there was testimony by Diana Jimenez that she had to quit her employer because of issues arising out of parental leave to attend academic conferences. This bill addresses the deficiencies in the prior bill. It provides for school notification so that parents know that they can support their children by participating in conferences. I commend Representative Buckner for designing a bill that responds to a critical need with minimal costs or inconvenience. We all state that we are committed to encouraging parental involvement, to increase student achievement, to reduce dropouts, and to increase secondary participation. This bill gives us an opportunity to demonstrate that commitment in a tangible way. I request an aye vote on this bill. Thank you.
Representative Thurlow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members. And I rise in opposition to 1002. And I would just like to speak because I think it's been stated several times by Representative Lee, Representative Moreno, that the business community has no problem with this bill. I come from the business community. I ran a manufacturing plant in Grand Junction for 40 years. I can tell you the way the business community works best is on freedom of choice, where you have an agreement between customers, between business people, between employees, and the best organizations work with their employees to meet their needs, and if you do that, the employees turn around and they meet your needs, and that's the way it works. Here's the problem with the bill is every situation is different in different businesses, and businesses need the ability to change things. In our plant, we have certain functions that are ongoing, and people are pretty much on call all the time, and they make arrangements with their fellow workers, and if they have a child and they have to attend to the child, or if they have to go to a school event, they make arrangements, and it's not even a management decision. It's free people making a free choice to cover for each other during a couple hours or even a day or sometimes, and they work that out, and it helps the business and everything functions. Then you have situations where you have a manufacturing line where a piece of machinery is running and there's a setup cost for that machinery, and if you shut it down, it increases that cost, and if you have to shut it down and start it up again for 2 hours, well, there's a parent-teacher conference going on, it increases the cost incrementally on that job. So it makes you less efficient in your manufacturing plant. It makes you less able to make money, and it makes you less able to employ more people and pay them better wages. So the agreement is you sometimes can work that out, sometimes you can substitute for somebody, sometimes you can bring in another employee, sometimes you can't. And the problem with making it mandatory then, if an employee can just walk off the job and shut that machine down or shut a production line down, it is very costly. It's costly to the company, and it's eventually costly to the employees. So I urge a no vote. Thank you.
Representative Priola.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Amendment L011. Ask that it be displayed. Members, this is a single...
Let's wait for the amendment to be displayed. Representative Priola.
Members, this is a single-page strike below that...
Priola, this
It's a
amendment...
single-page strike below that applies to employees and employers who want to reform their schools and can petition to have the schools reformed, assuming that they are upset about attending conferences. The prior amendment was shot down because the majority tried to stop debate on real parental choice and real parental initiative powers in schools, especially the schools that are hurting our ELL and free and reduced lunch children. So they played by the rules, but I am also playing by the rules by offering this amendment that fits under the title, the narrower title that they put on the bill. I ask for an aye vote.
Representative Duran.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. I would ask for a ruling on as to whether or not this does fit under the title. I need to take a look at it quickly and see if it actually does fit under the title.
We'll stand in brief recess to discuss the title request. Committee will come back to order. Chair rules that the amendment L011 does not fit under the title and is therefore out of order. Is there any further discussion of House Bill 1002? Representative Garnett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I think I want to put this discussion about whether or not it's good for business sort of in a perspective for everybody. You've heard that during the Education Committee, we didn't hear any testimony that this was bad for business. You've heard about the work that Representative Buckner has done working with the business community. But I think I want to put in perspective that this bill, once we pass the Education Committee report, goes back to what we passed in 2009. And since 2009, our job growth has increased 2.1%. The rate of jobs has increased 2.1% compared to the rest of the country. Our unemployment rate is 3.6%, which is below the national average. Since 2009, when we passed this original bill and it was on the books, we have been ranked 7th as the best state to make a living, ranked 5th as the best state for business, ranked 5th for the best state to start a small business, ranked 2nd for the best state for entrepreneurship and innovation, ranked 1st for most economically competitive state, ranked 1st for fastest growing economy. All these statistics and all of these rankings have happened when the bill that we're discussing was on the books. So how can we argue that it's bad for business? I haven't heard from one business that testified against this bill. I haven't heard from one business that we have created an environment where they have decided not to move here. We've had Fortune 500 companies move here since this bill has been on the books. DaVita decided to move here in May of 2009 after we debated and passed this original bill. And quote, Ken Thiry, who's the chairman, said DaVita was looking for two equally important things in its new home. Number one, that we find an environment that was good for the company to pursue its business. So if somehow this is bad for business, Fortune 500 chairmen don't agree with you. If this is bad for business, Colorado certainly wouldn't be ranked first as the fastest growing economy. So again, I think it's really important for members to understand Colorado's economy has been booming while this has been on the books.
Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Representative Garnett, thank you so much for bringing forward those very relevant points. Because as we have seen Colorado's economy grow and we have seen many benefits to Colorado business, isn't it time that we also think about Colorado families? Those hardworking families that struggle day in and day out to find balance between work and their families. Those individuals throughout the state of Colorado that work hard every single day and think about how are they going to be able to make enough money at their job to provide for their families and would like to also go to their children's school to be involved with some of the most important decisions affecting their child's life. Isn't it time, as the economy has gotten better and the economy has been better for business, that we also make sure that there is a level playing field for the middle class families across Colorado? And that's what this bill is about. Business is neutral on this bill. But what about the children? What about kids? What about parents? What about families? This is a reasonable bill to continue. And I thank Representative Buckner for thinking about Colorado kids and families. Thank you.
Representative Dorr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And colleagues, I did not sit on the Education Committee, so I wasn't part of the debate or the reasons of the business community's neutrality. But as I look at the legislation and I look back to what we've had over the last 5 years since the original bill that became law that was sunsetted, it raised a few questions, and I just want to make sure I'm understanding what is in the current legislation that we are going to be voting on here. Because I agree with Representative Lundeen. This is a societal problem as well. We need to continue to promote in society the raising of children, and part of that raising of children is support from their parents in all possible ways, and that's going to programs, that's being involved in their lives. It does create a better environment for healthier children to be raised in and ultimately become better adults. And we all agree on that. I don't think anybody's going to get up here and say, no, that's a bad idea. My question, though, is, from what I understand, this was the law up until the sunset period in September of 2015. So my first question is, does anything change in the current legislation that was not in the legislation that sunsetted in September? And the example was given of Ms. Rodriguez coming, and did that occur while the law existed? So there would have been a violation going on at that particular time anyway, or was that in between the September sunset and the point to where we are today? And then I think I know this answer, but I want to make sure. It's 50 employees, I'm assuming, because there must be something in the Family and Medical Leave Act that says that's the triggered number. But I think it does raise the question for me, as a state, why don't we talk about, is 50 the right number? Because if you're in a company that has 49, and the week you want to go to your child's assembly, you can't go, or your company could say you couldn't go. And next week we hire a new employee, and now you've got 50, and you could have gone. So there's a little bit of discussion, why is it 50, and is there reasons to have more than that? And the DaVita example, I'm sure that why they came to Colorado. I'm sure there were a lot of other reasons. But companies can do this already, and I want to make sure there's no preclusion, and we aren't thinking they're incentivizing companies to come here, because as a private organization, they could put these within their rules already. So I know I've thrown a bunch of questions out there, and hopefully you're able to jot them down, and I yield my time back to the somebody.
Representative Fields, I've got down here. Representative Fields.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, I sit on the Education Committee, and I believe that the most transformational moment in a child's life is when that mom and that dad shows up in school. Because it shows that that parent is involved not only with the teacher, but also in that school as it relates to that student's academic success. So when you take away the opportunity for a parent who may be working on minimum wages, denying them the opportunity to take time to participate in their students' learning, you're really hindering that student's and that teacher's progress towards the end goal. The end goal is to help these students achieve success by graduating. Now, we heard in committee that there is a sense of fear factor that's associated when you're trying to get time off of work, and this time is unpaid. This is unpaid time off. So no one's getting paid to take time off to be in their kids' school. This is unpaid time. It allows for them to find out what's going on in their student's life, and that's important. So when you take away that opportunity, you're kind of interfering with that person's success. We are Colorado. You heard Representative Garnett talk about how Colorado is one of the fastest growing states and economy. I'm not quite sure. I think it's thousands and thousands and thousands of people who are moving to Colorado every single month. This bill is good for Colorado. This bill is good for families. This bill is good for teachers. And most importantly, this bill is good for kids. This bill is about kids. This bill is about the future of our economy and kids. This bill is about celebrating families and making sure that any family, despite their economic income, has the opportunity to take some time off to participate in a parent-teacher conference. Now, we heard in testimony that someone said something like, well, you know, you can go before school or after school. Well, there's some people who work that may not have that flexibility to attend a conference before or after school. Some families need to maybe request some time off to participate. So to think that everyone has the same type of flexibility to participate in their kids' activity is just not true. It's just not true. So I urge strong support for House Bill 10002. I want to thank Representative Buckner for bringing this bill, because it is about celebrating the future of our kids and about giving parents the opportunity to be engaged. So it's really troubling to me that we would be arguing about having parents be engaged in their student strategies for academic success. Vote yes.
Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wasn't going to come back up, but here I am. Colleagues, just a couple of things on parental involvement. We've heard Representative Lee talked about the importance of parental involvement. You heard Representative Fields talk about it. That's not an issue, folks. Trust me, I don't just sit on the Education Committee. I actually sat in the chair where parental involvement was critical. 21 years as a superintendent, I was dealing with parental involvement. Sometimes I got parents involved for their child's involvement, oftentimes. So I know how critical parental involvement is. That's not the issue. There's two things here. Number one, Representative Lee and Representative Garnett both talked about business and that they were not opposed and so forth. Are they in favor is what I'm struggling with. You look at our voting board up here, you don't see aye, no, neutral. You either are or you aren't. And we heard no testimony, none, zip, from any business in education. I would like to have asked the question, do you have some concerns? If I'm neutral on something, I've got some concerns, I might be able to live with it. But I've got some concerns, we need to address those concerns. That's why the business issue is important to me. The second piece of that is, folks, don't be misled on this bill. It is not the 2009 bill. It still, even with the amendment, is different. It goes on indefinitely. So there's not a chance to come back and address what was right and what was wrong. And those of you that may be new to this chamber, I'm one that's a big proponent of sunsets. Because one of the things I have found in this business is if we pass a law today with no sunset, it's there forever in all probability. If it comes up for a sunset, we have the debate we're having today. Is it right? Is it wrong? What's good about it? What's bad about it? And we have that discussion. I think that's the healthiest thing that we can do. So don't overlook the fact that this does go on indefinitely, and this discussion will not take place again. Thank you.
Mr. Assistant Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of comments. You know, yes, this bill isn't the same as the 2009 law. You're right. It doesn't include the sunset. But the reason for that is because workers should never lose the protections that law provides them to be involved in their child's education. That should have never been on the table in the first place in the 2009 law. It should not be on the table now. And I just want to address some of these general arguments about government has no place. Government has no place telling a business what they can and cannot do, what they should and should not do, what leave they do or do not give their employees. Government has involved ourselves in business occasionally. To do things like, say, child labor, it's not okay. That there should be a reasonable limit on how much a person should work each work week. That workers should get the weekend off. These are the areas where government has interceded in business matters. And it's always been for the benefit of the worker. That's what this law is about, and that's why we should support this bill.
Representative Salazar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I rise in strong support of House Bill 1002. I actually received a text message just a little bit ago from a teacher friend of mine who's here with her students, and I ran down to the first floor to say hi because she said that her students would be thrilled to meet a legislator, and so I went downstairs. They said that they were taking a tour of the executive floor of the Capitol, and then they were going to come up to the legislative floors to watch us debate. And I said, wow, I said, you guys came on a really good day. I said, we're debating a bill that involves you. It involves whether or not parents can engage in your academic activities throughout the year. And one of the students says, well, that sounds like a pretty good bill. Out of the mouth of babes, right? What do we have going on here, guys? This law was already in effect. Business is neutral on this. Yeah, neutral doesn't mean that it's supportive. It also doesn't mean that it's in opposition to. If they're in opposition, they would have said so. This is good for our kids. Look at them. Look at them. They're right there. Look at our kids. They're the most important things to us. Right there. They're the most important things. Right? Those individuals right there who will turn out to be adults, supposedly like us in this chamber, they're the most important things. This bill tells them that. This bill says your parents can engage in your academic activities. That's what we're fighting for them. So that way we could participate in their growing lives. I rise in strong support of House Bill 1002.
Representative Corum.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, I am from rural Colorado, and I want to take a little bit of exception to what we talked about here today, how strong the economy is in Colorado. And I'm going to tell you we have a very strong I-25 economy. I'm going to tell you about a community in my district, the west end of Montrose County, the Natarita Nuclear School District. It is not a strong economy. It's based on agriculture and natural resources, mainly mining, uranium, other products, forest. But what you will find today, the Natarita Nuclear School District, the school enrollment, the entire school enrollment is 75% of what the senior class was 40 years ago. Did you get that? 75%, the entire K-12 enrollment is 75% of what the senior class was 40 years ago. Members, I'm not sure if this is a good bill or a bad bill. I haven't made up my mind. But I can tell you that anything that we do to hurt these rural communities is certainly not beneficial. So don't tell me how great the economy is in Colorado unless you want to do something to move jobs to rural Colorado.
Representative Melton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And members, I rise in strong support of House Bill 1002. I was sitting in my chair and I was listening to Representative Wilson's comments about his two concerns, neutrality of the business community and the fact that this doesn't have a sunset. But members, there are many things that people and organizations take neutral positions on. I'm sure that maybe the Department of Natural Resources hasn't taken a position on this bill because they don't have concerns about this bill, because they're not worried about what this bill would do to their operations. The fact that the business community is neutral on this bill means that they were consulted, they were talked to, their concerns were addressed, and at the end of the day, they said, we don't have concerns on this. We're not going to actually speak out against this. If they had concerns, if there was a problem with this, they would come out adamantly against it. But they didn't. They said that there was no problem and they remained neutral. So yes, sure, it says aye and no on the board because that's for us. I don't think that every organization or every group or every sector is going to necessarily take a position. Secondly, why this doesn't have a sunset and the fact that this should be reviewed over and over again by future legislatures. The fact of the matter is this is going into statute. And statutes can always be changed, they can be tweaked, they can be looked at. If this does not work, I am sure that a future legislature will look at this and say this may not be working, or this needs to be adjusted, or it needs to be increased, or whatnot. It's not going into the Constitution. It can be changed, it can be adjusted, it can be amended, and it can be fixed if it needs to be. So members, let's not be scared and apprehensive about putting something in statute or something in the law. Let's do what's right for our kids, for our parents, and for our teachers. Let's do something that sends a message to them that says that we support what they're doing, that we support our kids and our parents getting involved in our kids' lives, whether that's to be at their sporting events or to address maybe some discipline problems or get them the help that they need. Members, I ask for an aye vote.
Representative Lundeen. Passes. Representative Ryden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And members, the teachers I talked to have, over the last 8 years that I've been in the legislature, we have added more and more duties and responsibilities and things that they have to do and have, I think, really overburdened them. And then we were able to allow them to try to speak with the parents more often. And as any teacher will tell you, when the parents are involved, the students do better. That's just a fact. And so I'd say that this is one thing we can do to take some of the burden away from the teachers, to allow them to do their jobs and allow them to interact with the parents, which is so important. And then as a business owner, I always found in the many years that we had a number of employees that when they were happy, the business did better. And when they could interact with their kids and be involved with their kids and attend the activities at the school, they did so much better. They were so much more productive. So as a business owner, I also endorse this bill, and I urge a yes vote on 1002. Thank you.
Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Representative Ryden, thank you for proving my point. You did this without the government telling you to do it because you thought it was the right thing to do.
Representative Neville.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And members, I agree completely that our kids are the most important things in our lives. I know my kids are the most important things in my wife and my life. We get involved in their school activities. We raise our children, and quite frankly, we don't need any member or any body of state government helping us with that. We do it on our own. Thank you.
Representative Becker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And members, I don't think there's anybody in here that could say they're not for the children. We're all here for the children. We're here for the future of the people that are going to be sitting here, hopefully in the future, and the grown-ups, as we've talked about before, and make sure that they're making decisions with us. But we saw an amendment here, Representative Priola's amendment, that would have put it back to local control, that would have allowed parents to approach their school districts and do exactly what we're talking about, that would have made it more personal, would have allowed school districts to make decisions that may have been even better than what we're looking at. Why would we not have allowed that go through if it's truly about the kids and it's truly about the parents? That's what we need to be doing. Let your local districts make some decisions. Get it back to the local groups that we elect, your school boards, and let them make those decisions as we go as well. There's not anybody here that's not about the children. And when we get up here and say one group or not is not about the children, I think we're all wrong. But I'll tell you, I believe in making this a decision of our school boards. We've already heard that these decisions were already being made with or without this bill. We have to allow this to go to local control. We have to allow, if we're truly for this, to allow that amendment to go through. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Is there any Representative McCann?
Sorry.
Oh.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to add one thing, and that is one of the things that's always bothered me when I was in private practice is that typically the people at the top have flexibility in their schedules. So as a lawyer, you know, I could schedule around my kids' school conferences, but my secretary couldn't do that. She had to be there all the time. And it always bothered me that like the heads of the corporations, the lawyers, had that flexibility to go to their kids' events, but the lower level employees just don't have the ability because they're required to be there, and that always bothered me. So that's one of the reasons I really like this bill, is I think it gives those who don't have any flexibility the ability to go to their kids' activities. So I would urge an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Buckner.
Fellow legislators, I'd like to clear up a couple of things. First of all, I want to applaud the businesses who are working with their employees, and many, many businesses are doing everything they can to build great relationships with their employees, because you know what? Happy employers make better business. This bill states distinctly no more than 6 hours a month, 3-hour increments, and no more than 18 hours in a year. I've heard some incorrect information here, so I want to correct that. Also, the employees have to notify their employer a week in advance, except in emergency situations, and the employer could also talk to the employee in cases of emergency, or if the employee not being there would halt business or service or production. Once again, businesses have the flexibility to work with their employees. Last of all, my husband, the late John Buckner, was adamant about this bill. All of you have told me how much you respected John Buckner. You've also told me that he knows more about education than most people. He dissected this bill. We talked about this bill last year. If there was anything in this bill that he thought would be detrimental to anyone because he has family who have businesses, he would not have approved this bill. I want all of you to vote yes on this bill because it is indeed important. My husband was passionate, I'm passionate, and I know this is best for the people of Colorado who may not have a voice, they may not have the strength to testify, but they've told me how important this bill is. So please, vote yes on this important bill. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion on House Bill 1002, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1002. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. No. The ayes have it. House Bill 1002 is passed. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to lay over House Bill 1073 to the end of the second reading calendar.
Seeing no objections, House Bill 1073 will be laid over to the end of the calendar. Mr. Kohler, please read the title of House Bill 1012.
House Bill 1012 by Representative Wright and also Senator Scott concerning a requirement that a municipal clerk file a copy of each statement of election results with the Division of Local Government and the Department of Local Affairs rather than Secretary of State.
Representative Wyden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And members, I move House Bill 1012.
To the bill, Representative Wyden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representatives, fellow representatives, colleagues, House Bill 1012 is a cleanup bill for the posting of election results. Right now, when the counties are doing elections and when there are coordinated elections, those results go to the Secretary of State's website. But last year we passed a bill that would send the results from special districts to the Department of Local Affairs, where they deal in all the local matters, the municipal matters that are not covered by the Secretary of State. So this year we're running this bill that would allow the municipalities to do the same thing. So they would send their results to the Department of Local Affairs, and then there would be a link from the Secretary of State's website to the Department of Local Affairs for anyone who wanted to see those election results. And that essentially is the bill, and I urge an aye vote.
Representative Neville.
Members, this is a great bill. Right now, the SOS doesn't have any oversight over these elections, so it doesn't make sense for them to do the reporting. It just creates a lot of confusion. I urge an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion of House Bill 1012? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 161012. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1012 is passed. Mr. Kohler, please read the title of House Bill 1086.
House Bill 1086 by Representatives Wyden and Nordberg, also Senator Holbert, concerning modification of the dates on which required performance audits of certain governmental entities are due.
Representative Nordberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1086.
Are you moving it, Representative Nordberg?
Yeah, I just did.
Okay. Representative Nordberg has moved House Bill 1086. Representative to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, this bill does two things. It moves the next DPA audit to 2019 to allow for time for their new HR system to go into place, and then it also allows for subsequent audits to be done at the discretion of the state auditor, since the past 3 audits conducted have found no significant findings. Good bill, vote yes.
Representative Wyden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I echo those comments. Good bill, vote yes.
Is there any further discussion of House Bill 1086? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1086 is passed. Mr. Kohler, please read the title of House Bill 1130.
House Bill 1130 by Representative Priola, also Senator Johnston, concerning changes to annual reports prepared by the Department of Education.
Representative Priola.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1130 and the committee report.
To the committee report, Representative Priola.
Thank you, members. Representative Moreno moved the date back a month. It's fine. I'm fine with that. I ask for an aye vote.
Any further discussion of the committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Education Committee report. All those in favour say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Education report is adopted. To the bill, Representative Priola.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, this is a good cleanup bill from CDE to get rid of reports that are no longer needed and move a date to better comply with data. Ask for an aye vote.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1130. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1130 is passed. Are we now to House Bill 1073? Mr. Kohler, please read the title of House Bill 1073.
House Bill 1073, Representatives Duran and Del Grosso, also Senators Guzman and Sheffield, concerning the qualifications of licensed electricians.
Representative Duran.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1073 and the Business Committee report.
To the Business Committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We did put in some clarifying language to make sure that the contemporaneous review need not happen every time an inspector went out to a job site, and we also did a date change.
Is there any further discussion of the Business Affairs and Labor report? Representative J. Paul Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I was studying this bill last night and found that under Section 10 of the statute, there's no such thing as a building department. And so I would like to move L005 and have it displayed.
Amendment L005 has been properly displayed and is now before us. Representative Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I hope that this is a friendly amendment. I was just trying to make it jive with the statutes, and so we came up with instead of building department, call it the entities. Those entities are mentioned in statute, but building department is not. So I would ask for an aye vote on this amendment.
Representative Duran.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And members, this is a friendly amendment.
Is there any further discussion of Amendment L005 to the Business Affairs and Labor Committee report?
Thank you.
Seeing none. The question before us is the passage of the amendment L005. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Amendment L005 is adopted. Back to the Business Affairs and Labor Committee report. Is there any further discussion? Representative Del Grosso.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. I don't know how many electricians we have in the room, but when this was proposed to me, I went and talked to several of the electricians in my district, a lot of folks that I know, and I said, explain to me how the process works for you now, the process of getting a license, the process of having it renewed. What do you have to go through? The first thing they told me is, Brian, the process that we have to go through right now, quite frankly, is not very good. They use some other words than that, but I can't use it too well. But quite frankly, they do not like how the process works now. They said it is very burdensome. The reality is there's a test that they have to, in most cases, go down and cram and try to study for. If they miss any questions on the test, then they're forced to actually go back and take a bunch of continuing education if they miss answers on the test. Quite frankly, the way that we do licensure here doesn't work with the other states that are around us. So it makes it a lot more difficult for folks to go practice in other states, and then vice versa. If they're trying to bring electricians in, it's a lot harder for them to do that. So this basically eliminates a lot of the burdens that are on our electricians out there right now. It streamlines the process for them, and it makes it easier for them if they want to practice in other states or if other folks want to come practice here. So I believe this is a good bill. It eliminates a lot of burdens on our electricians, and the electricians that I spoke to love what we're trying to do here. And so as a result, I'll urge you to support 1073 as well.
Thank you, Mr. Minority Leader. Is there any further discussion on the Business and Labor Report? All those in favor of adoption of the Business and Labor Report, say aye. And all those opposed, no. Business and Committee Labor Report is adopted. Mr. Minority Leader.
All right, so I'll start over and get my whole speech again. Now, the reason why I told you to support the committee report would be the exact same reasons why I would ask you to support 1073. This is my first year, so bear with me. I'm still nervous on how this works, so I will urge an aye vote on 1073.
Reverend Senator Duran.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I thought, Minority Leader Douglas, you were just nervous because we're doing a bill together. But no, in all seriousness, members, we do ask for your support on this bill. It's also a meaningful step forward when it comes to workforce development of electricians. So I would ask for your support.
Seeing no further discussion of House Bill 1073, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1073. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1073 is passed. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for doing a great job today. I move the committee rise and report.
You have heard the motion. Seeing no objection, the committee will rise and report.
The House will come back to order. Mr. Kohler, please read the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Madam Speaker, Committee of the Whole begs leave reports under consideration following attached bills being second reading thereof makes following recommendations thereon. House Bills 1002, Amendment 1012, 1073, Amendment 1086, 1130, Amendment passed on second reading in order gross place on counter for third and final passage.
Members, may I have your attention? We are in the Committee of the Whole, and I hope you have heard the motion, and there are no amendments. The question before the House is the adoption of the report. Oh, yes, Representative Kagan, where are you? There you are. So now I hope you've heard the motion. And there are no amendments. The question before the House is the adoption of the report of the Committee of the Whole. Mr. Kohler, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Thank you. Representative Priola, got it. With 64 ayes, 1 no, and 0 excused, the report of the Committee of the Whole is adopted. Announcements and introductions. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to lay over HJR 1002 until tomorrow, February 4th.
The motion is to lay over HJR 1002 until tomorrow. Seeing no objection, so ordered. Now, announcements and introductions. Representative Vigil.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Agriculture, Livestock, and Natural Resources Committee heads up. We got 2 items on the agenda today in room 107. It's House Bill 1124 and SJM 002. And we should try to be there in about 10 minutes so we can get done with our business as soon as possible. Thank you for your attention.
Further announcements. Representative Pedersen.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Education members, we're going to be meeting in 271 at 11 o'clock. If you're not there, you will be absent.
Representative Ryden.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The members of the House State Veterans and Military Affairs Committee, we do have 3 bills up on adjournment, and as fast as your little feet can get over to LSBA, we will begin. Thank you.
Further announcements and introductions. Seeing none, Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move the House stand in recess until later today at 1:30 p.m.
The motion is that the House stand in recess until 1:30 p.m. Seeing no objection, so ordered.